Maybe you like cooking. Maybe you don't. Either way, the new Blue Apron is for you. Because along with our classic meal kits, we're offering new pre-made and one-pan meals to help you get dinner on the table fast. And now there's no subscription needed, so you can just order and enjoy. Do delicious food your way. Shop 100 plus meals at blueapron.com. Get 50% off your first 2 orders with code APRON50. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Ed, fitting that the Louis van Gaal derby in the middle of the week was 0-0, I thought. And United sort of doing a general Van Gaal tribute act. How are you doing in the midst of all this dreadful football?
What do you say? Drudgery, misery and injury. It sounds like our last 3 managers.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, God, it's been bad. just to set the tone for what this podcast is going to be about this week.
Talking of our last 3 managers, I mean, we've spent 6 years in the post-Ferguson era on this show talking about how dreadful it's been, with a kind of couple of brief exceptions along the way. But I don't know if it's recency bias or whatever, but this is as bad as any extended spell under any of them, isn't it?
Well, it's been stretching back to February. I mean, I'm always a bit reluctant to make comparisons across seasons because, of course, it's across the summer and many things change. But Ollie did tell us that having got a full pre-season in, the players would be fit and ready to go play his game. I barely see any pressing at the moment, so they're not enacting that part of his game. No, they're just like statues in the middle of the park watching Newcastle tiki-taka it around us. So yeah, it's really, really, really bad, and this is stretched back 10 months now. 10 months.
No, 8 months. 8 months. We're not quite there, and 2 of those months were the summer holidays. But 6 months. That's 6 months of playing time. That's been dreadful. Have we won an away game in 6 months?
We haven't won an away game since PSG.
That was March the 10th, I believe, because they had a little graphic about it on the Sky coverage, and I think that was when it was. So that's 7 months. It's not good. It will be funny if we get relegated. That I think that would be funny, genuinely, like properly hilarious if we get relegated. But the thing is, we're probably not even going to get relegated.
What's going to happen is we're going to finish 8th or something, and we'll be forced into the Europa League. What's it called? The
Conference.
Conference.
Europa League Vauxhall Conference.
I mean, they couldn't just the insult couldn't be bigger. Look, I don't know about you, but I, for one, welcome our new Albanian champion overlords. I don't know what to say about that. Would be optimistic at this point.
So we should say Patreon backers, of course, heard us cover the end of the Rochdale game. But the last time we recorded a podcast, the main show...
We cut it off with 15 minutes to go as we were clinging on.
It was 1-0 and I pressed stop and then they scored. It was almost like literally with it between us finishing recording the main show and starting to record the bonus content, which we do like 5 minutes after the show max. Rochdale had equalised, and
through a 12-year-old who had to go back to school the next day and was told off for missing his classes.
He didn't miss his chance though, did he? And United, to be fair to him, didn't miss any penalties.
No.
And they smashed those League One slugs aside.
It was a good warm up for what came after that, which was United versus Arsenal on Monday night. My God, week's a long time in politics, right? Week is a hell of a long time in United land.
Yeah, we couldn't do one after the show on Monday, and then I had to have some dentist stuff done on the Tuesday, so I couldn't talk for a bit. But it was a good job because, like, the idea was we would just do a show covering that game, Well, we're about to cover that game.
And
it was real bad.
It was
utterly
really,
dreadful.
really bad. So we had 2 players starting the game in Rashford and Pogba who clearly weren't fit. Just clearly. I mean,
Rashford still isn't.
Rashford still isn't. I mean, he's getting pelters from every part of the internet, but he shouldn't be playing. I mean, for whatever reason, Ollie's reluctant to start Mason Greenwood there, but it can't get any worse at the moment. And Rashford clearly isn't fit. He's someone who could massively benefit from 2 weeks on a beach in the sun somewhere, get himself fit, reset, think again, because he's out of form, out of touch, and injured. And he was injured for most of the second half of last season. We know this because Ollie said in the summer, and he's clearly injured now. So he was one. And the other was Paul Pogba, who came into the game with an ankle injury, played anyway, and because he had the ankle injury that he missed the Rochdale game for. Weirdly, parts of the internet saying
he played.
Oh yeah, no, he played in Rochdale
game.
It
was
the
game before
but he had that ankle injury and he got worse, and he couldn't play in the Arsenal game. Weird parts of the internet saying, "Oh, he's faking it to get a move." What? I just don't. Honestly, I'm not going to keep going on about Paul Pogba, but there's some really weird people he triggers. Really weird people. And you're probably one of them if you're listening. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, he didn't have a good game because he clearly is not fit either. And Andres Pereira on the right, completely ineffective. Dan James had one of his Dan James, he looks like he's still learning games. And the back four, all like Tuanzebe actually looked the most competent of the back four by some distance before he completely gave it away. Played the ball across his box, which is a cardinal sin, and then Harry Maguire's playing everyone 5 yards onside. I think what Harry Maguire had done is drop back, thinking Tuanzebe's going to pass it to him, but he didn't read the situation very well, and he's played everyone on.
I mean, the thing about that is, so Tuanzebe's played left back, right back, centre back since we last recorded a podcast, and apart from that moment, he's basically been excellent.
He's looked very good. Yeah, no, that's right. So that was complete mess of that game, and
the other thing that happened in that game that we should talk about is the superb Scott McTominay goal, and that actually came because United were quite up for this game. There was you'd predicted a 1-1 draw, I believe, on the last show, and I'd sort of made fun of you for being so wildly optimistic. But you were right in the sense that Arsenal were just as bad as United, because Arsenal were dreadful and needed to be gifted a goal to get anything out of a game against a completely broken United.
Right,
but,
yeah. Well, I mean,
like I said, United...
Apart from Aubameyang, I mean, who obviously finished well and he's in a rich vein of form at the moment. I mean, Arsenal's best player was Saka on the left, this kid that has just been drafted into the team. The rest of them were awful. They were terrible in midfield, Arsenal. They've got a couple of ratters in there. I mean, they're all little ratters, aren't they, in the Arsenal midfield? They've gone full anti-Wenger and just, got a bunch of people who are going to put the reducers in, or at least try. But yeah, they're not a good side. And United did, you're right, they started with some high energy, but it dissipated. And I think I tweeted at halftime, be interesting to see if United sit back a little bit more and whether Arsenal take the game to United. Because actually, I think Arsenal allowed United to look quite good by letting United have it up to about 30 yards from goal. And they were happy to form a low block and try and break from there. And I think they just kind of figured they had some measure of United, and they came out just in much more positive fashion and were much the better side in the second half. I mean, you can't say they didn't deserve their equaliser. I mean, really ridiculously scrappy equaliser, helped by VAR, of course. I think we were speculating in the Rankhouse WhatsApp group, or at least I was, whether the ref had actually blown or not. And apparently just put the whistle to his mouth but didn't blow, because if he blows, because the flag went up, which is against protocol, right? The lines.
I know. I thought they'd said before this season that late flag thing is they're not going to do that in the Premier League.
Right.
The linesman's going to flag, which seems
but
ridiculous to me. Because then the referee blows.
I think the late flag thing is better than this situation, because they put the flag up. Now we're just going to assume that none of the United players saw that flag and changed anything they were going to do. Like the keeper and the defenders that were around Aubameyang, they didn't do anything about it. We've just got to assume that, because there are going to be times this season when that happens and players stop. And if the ref doesn't blow his whistle, the game is live and a goal is going to be given if it's overturned, like as it was in this case. Now, because the ref hasn't blown his whistle, Arsenal have been credited with a goal they deserved because, it's a legitimate goal. But we've also just got to say, De Gea didn't see it, De Gea didn't see it, and none of the defenders saw it, and nothing changed. And it's good. And maybe that's okay now, but it's going to be a big assumption in some games this season.
Well, this is the thing, because the thing about that is it's like that should be an example of VAR really, really working well, because a very egregious error has been overturned and a goal that should have stood as stood. But even then, the protocol isn't quite right. So that's the Arsenal game. Now comes the Louis van Gaal derby. I saw the last 2 minutes of this game because it was on so early. I was still working. A 0-0 away at Alkmaar. There's no way you're going to get me watching the highlights of that game.
Well, I saw all of the first half,
right.
and I left my office at half time. After the first half, I had dinner with my boss and a bunch of people in a restaurant in a basement where there was zero coverage, so I couldn't even find out what the score was. But I guess I didn't miss much because the first half was dreadful. I mean, United were just unable to create anything, and I suppose this was a game in which a few of the kids did get a run out, and there's been a little bit of criticism that this notion that Ollie is playing a lot of kids isn't quite right.
I thought it was insane not to start Mason Greenwood against Arsenal, by the way. Absolutely insane. That's like one of the worst decisions Solskjaer has made so far, in my opinion.
Well, I kind of understand that throwing a whole bunch of kids into a bad team all at the same time can have a negative effect on them. But right now, is Gomez worse than Mata? Is Mason Greenwood worse than Pereira? Is Brandon Williams worse than Ashley Young or Luke Shaw?
I tell you what, I didn't see the Alkmaar game, but I can tell you the answer to the question, is Brandon Williams worse than Ashley Young? The answer to that question is no. There's absolutely no way that he's worse than that, because no one is worse than Ashley Young.
No, that's right. Well, I mean, I've seen a lot of Brandon Williams because, I'm stupid enough to have subscribed to the MUTV channel at some point and can't work out how to unsubscribe. So they keep signing me up each year, and I'm like, oh God, I'm giving them cash I don't need to, and then I'm like, well, I'll watch under 18. So I've seen a lot of him. I think he's a really talented player, and it's kind of interesting. A little while ago, he switched from right to left because Ethan Laird, another really talented player, has played a lot on the right as well. He's a really good kid, Ethan Laird. I think he's got big things ahead of him. But Brandon Williams, I mean, why not? It's not like we haven't seen 5 years of Luke Shaw at left back and kind of know what he's about now, or seen what the last 3 years of Ashley Young at left back and know what he's about. And Gomez is struggling a little bit because I think the step up for him is quite a lot at the moment, and I think he could probably do with a loan. Same with Chong, by the way. I think the two of them really could do with some time away. A lot of people are making the obvious comparison with Chelsea right now, and all those kids that have come into the Chelsea side who are playing well, or inconsistent and then well, have all had a solid year of football behind them in the Championship. And then you look at the difference between, say, Gomez and Chong's match readiness, and perhaps even Greenwood's match readiness, versus Axel Tuanzebe's match readiness, and you can see there's an extra year of development, can't you?
Yeah, and I don't think we should have played. I don't think it was insane not to play Gomez, Chong, and Williams and Greenwood against Arsenal, but I think it was insane not to play Greenwood against Arsenal.
I mean, but 2
goals in 2 games. The only player who'd looked even remotely dangerous against either Rochdale or Astana. I mean, this is what we're talking about here, and with Rashford half dead basically, and it did look more than Rashford looked a little bit better when he went out to the right. Anyway, the Alkmaar game. Probably we can't do too much analysis since you saw half of it and I didn't see any of it. And then there was the Newcastle game. I don't know if you've seen this, Ed, because this has come out just a few minutes ago. an hour ago or so. David De Gea admitted that United are in their worst and most difficult period. He said, asked what needs to improve at the club, De Gea simply responded, everything. That's a lot of things, Dove. It's not acceptable, not just this game, but the whole season. It's the most difficult time since I've been here. I don't know what's happening. We cannot even score one goal in 2 games. We didn't create any proper chances. We defended well. The team needs to step up. We have some big injuries, but that's no excuse. Blah, blah, blah. This is the most difficult time since I've been here. I don't know why. What's happening? Sorry to the fans. We'll keep fighting. Come on. We conceded a goal from a corner, meaning an attacking corner. This cannot happen. It's unacceptable. So David De Gea has fully lost it today. We should have got him on the show.
Good for him. Good for him. Yeah. I mean, look, in against Arsenal, United created just over 1 XG. Against Newcastle, just a little bit under 1 XG. But I mean, it depends. Infogol have it a little bit higher than that. But nearly half of that XG was Harry Maguire's miss. And like I hear Ollie and I hear him saying, "Oh, we've got to take our chances. We've got to be more clinical." And there's Harry Maguire's miss. There's a Paul Pogba header like from point blank range missed against Alkmaar. There's Scott McTominay against Arsenal. When it looked like he had a free header. There's like chances and half chances. A couple penalties missed this year, and like if all these go in, sure, but we are just not creating enough good chances. You can fool yourself, and Ollie I think does fool himself about the quality of the chances. He's like, oh, we created chances because we had shots. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shots United have had in the Newcastle game that are less than 0.1 XG, right? So 10 shots of which there's 10% chance just for the uninitiated of scoring,
But to be fair, he didn't say after the Newcastle game we played well, we created chances. Like I would,
no. But he has done in previous games.
Yeah. He has, but like I mean, he was asked about the Maguire chance by the BBC, and he was kind of like, oh yeah, well that's the kind of chance that goes in when you're playing well, and Harry knows he's got to do better there. But honestly, like yeah, he should do better there, but that's not the even Solskjaer wasn't saying like, oh, we rude missed chances today. Today we were just a total shambles total shambles. And the great irony is actually Greenwood came on after 65 minutes and United did start to look. There was a little 5-minute period there between when Greenwood came on and when the goal went in where United actually finally looked half decent, and then of course immediately conceded. There was the moment where Ashley Young decided to pass it back across the 6-yard box instead of shooting, or it looked on telly like he had a good shooting opportunity, although angles can be a bit deceiving, can't they, on telly? But anyway, overall, United with the ball, because United have been all right without the ball. The sloppy goal to concede against Arsenal based on a massive error. There were massive errors in the Longstaff goal. I mean, Pereira played, whoever it was that then passed the ball back to Longstaff was played onside by Pereira, who was looking down the line and standing a mile out of line with the rest of the defenders. I mean, he's not a defender, obviously. And Maguire didn't attack the ball, and there's a lot of things you could say that are wrong. But generally, the defensive organisations looked much better. But
sure.
There's nothing going forward. And yeah, all right. So he said, Solskjaer did say, well, you've got 6 players missing from the team that started on the first day of the season. So Wan-Bissaka, Paul Pogba and Anthony Martial, I would say those are really big losses. Martial has had plenty of bad games for United. So does Pogba, to be fair. But those are their big losses. Luke Shaw's not a big loss. Jesse Lingard's not a big loss. I can't even think of who the other player is that played on the first day and is now injured. There is a huge the strength in depth. It's
there's nothing bad. There. It's look down our bench, right?
It is funny that Nemanja Matic didn't even start today. Though that was funny.
Well, he does. Look, I mean. There were 4 players against Alkmaar who shouldn't be at the club. on the pitch today at some point was Marcos Rojo shouldn't be at the club. United have been trying to get rid of him for 3 years. Pereira, I mean, I'm not one to boot younger players, but we have seen him for a long time now, and he's had 2 full seasons away from United. He's 23, isn't he now, Andreas Pereira?
Yeah, he is.
I'm just really struggling to see it. I'm just really, really struggling. Good kid at youth level, looked technically very good, could play in a lot of position, mostly played off the left. And I do feel sorry for him that he's hardly ever played in that position, which I think he does prefer because he can come in and shoot, which he is his one sort of top skill, I suppose. And he looks to influence from that, and he just can't do it over on the right. So I feel sorry for him, but I've seen nothing that tells me that he's going to make it. Fred, who shouldn't be at the club, United should have cut their losses. There's just nothing ever come from him, ever. In the tiny little glimpses, you kind of hope that they'll blossom into something, and they never have. And then Juan Mata, who's starting this game, because, well, what other choices are there, I suppose? I mean, except for throwing Angel Gomez in. But Juan Mata, love him, does some great work for charity, gives away a proportion of his income, super bloke, hugs, crap blogger, crap footballer, I'm afraid. And he's just gone, and, nice guy, and he gets away with it because he's a nice guy. I mean, you won't see...
He only gets away with it with some people. There's a lot of people
but you won't see an inch of ink about him by any serious journalist that is going to go, he's done. But he's done, and this is United's problem. So, like, you've got David De Gea, Harry Maguire in this team today, right? David De Gea, Harry Maguire, who are kind of legitimate, mature players, right? Diogo Dalot, kid, just come back from injury. Axel Tuanzebe, kid. Ashley Young, done. Fred, no business at the club. Pereira's never going to make it. Juan Mata, done. Daniel James, kid, and Marcus Rashford, injured, I mean, talk about setting yourself up for failure, right? And we really shouldn't be surprised.
I don't think anyone that saw that starting 11 was surprised. I messaged you to say I think this is worse than any Jemba era Fergie starting 11. I got messages from more than one person saying this might be the worst starting 11 they've ever seen, certainly for a Premier League game at United. I mean, the problem is with this starting 11 is not just... It's like the absolute best version of that starting 11 would be fine. It's the combination of, in certain places, a complete lack of quality, and in other places, either a dreadful loss of form or genuinely done. I mean, Ashley Young hasn't lost form; he's genuinely done. I mean, listen, Ashley Young has been driving us mad for 3 years, losing the ball in dangerous positions. You work an opening and it's Ashley Young there. We talked about O-ring theory time and time again on this
and
show.
Before we started that theory, we were making fun of him for never creating a bloody thing. His output as a forward was almost zero.
Yeah. So that's not news. I mean, Mata has not had a great United career. He's probably had 10 amazing games for United, if that, and he's played... I think he's played for us more than he's played for any other club, I believe.
Right.
So I feel kind of sad about that for him. So the Mata thing, we know what that is. Fred, so
not going to happen for him.
I'll
tell you now.
Fred is so bad. Fred is so bad. I can't even be that happy that Nemanja Matic didn't play, and I'm really happy that Nemanja Matic didn't play.
There is. I would put large amounts of money. I'm not going to do that, but I put large amounts of money on. There's no chance Fred is going to make it at United. United will get rid on a loan next summer or some kind of cut price deal somewhere in Spain or
Inter.
Portugal, or maybe to Inter. Yeah, because it's not going to happen for him. I don't know what it was. The theory that it was Kieran McKenna pushing for this one seems a bit odd, but maybe, who knows, head of scouting, Jose, whoever it was, but this is a dud. And that money is now spent, and we're going to have to move on. But the problem is, with Fred being crap, Pogba, I presume, given how bad United are at the moment, is going to want to move next summer. And you've got Herrera and Fellaini already gone. Are United going to recruit 4 midfielders next summer?
Well, they absolutely have to. I mean, we don't need to have this conversation again
No,
for
I
the
mean it was
seventh week in a
basically
row. But
rhetorical. So
yeah. But the the complete lack of attacking fluency, you could say the injuries play a part in that. But the kind of what are they working on in training thing is like the every time, it's completely trivial to play against Manchester United. It's completely, tactically, it's completely trivial. Sit back, hit them on the break. They literally can't handle it. You might not win because it might be that the kind of personal, individual talents of a couple of defenders, the defensive organisation, and the keeper combined to stop you scoring. But they're not going to score, like, unless something ricochets in or someone scores a worldie. Like
no. I mean, you're totally right. United are hoping for individual brilliance. There's just nothing about the pass and the play that creates chances, good chances. Nothing. And
and
Newcastle was day, and they scored from a brilliant goal. Really fine finish. Although I don't like to criticise David De Gea, as you know. I did wonder whether he was 1 yard to his left. And he wasn't quite set. He wasn't quite set. It beat him.
yeah,
It beat
yeah.
him. It's like, but it wasn't right in the corner, was it?
And then that's they had that the Almiron break where Almiron took too long on the ball and Maguire got back and tackled him, but they
And
they
that
put
was
the
the
ball
only
through
other
really well
decent chance. Yeah, because every other time
but
Almiron had it in a decent area, he threw himself to the ground.
but they were much better than us, like that, because they were defensively perfectly functionally well organized and they offered some threat on the counter.
It's the Steve
And that,
Bruce tactical genius. That is.
I mean, this is the outwitting of Manchester United is completely trivial. There's nothing to it.
No, you're right.
And
There's no complexity to this United side. I mean, when we had that great run, that was mostly about playing in this way, but players, were liberated, and we, looking back at the data, got some fortune as well. For
I mean, when
that
you
17
said
match
that
run.
all,
Yeah.
you said all the way through. It's not like this is a hindsight thing. You were saying that all the way through. But the thing that is so upsetting about this is the thing that I thought was really good about that run was the amount of confidence that the players had. Now, Solskjaer said today, he said, I feel disappointed in a different way in the back end than at the back end of the last season, because at the back end of last season it felt like their attitude was wrong. This season their attitude's great. They're working hard. They're doing, but their attitude isn't great because they don't believe in themselves. And you can't manage a football team that doesn't believe in itself. You can't. If the team doesn't believe in itself, there's nothing you can do. Self belief is the absolute linchpin of how you make it work with the players. And this is the thing I was saying about Mourinho the whole time. We're not going to talk about it again, but we all know what the structural problems are. The structural problems are there. The manager's job is to do the best under the circumstances. And this is the thing that's really worrying, which is that, like under Mourinho, what's happening now is we're getting the worst version of the current circumstances, both in terms of injury management, which is extremely suspect.
And we really should
Rashford,
talk about that. We really should talk about it. Not just injury management, but why we're getting so many injuries, and Rashford has a muscle problem, right? There's a few of them gone down with muscle problems. Pogba's is an ankle problem, although they can be related, and I just wonder whether the actual training regime, this thing that was supposed to have got the players so fit that they could play the way that Ollie wants them to play, isn't playing a part in the number of it. I'm speculating, obviously. I'm doing a Raver-Hein here, but that they isn't playing a part in the rash of injuries that United are getting. Then you get the injury management, which is pretty criminal. I know it's desperate. It's out of desperation because there's just nothing in the squad.
Yeah, but it's the it is out of desperation on one hand, but Mason Greenwood, fully fit, is better than an injured Marcus Rashford. He's just better. That's not complicated, and we've seen him score goals. Not millions too, but that's a lot. That's a lot for United. So it's a complete. Things are a total shambles at the moment, and it's not like you bolt Pogba, Wan-Bissaka, and Martial back into this team. Never mind the kind of supplementary injuries around now, which are causing a problem. But you put those three back into the team, and all the problems are solved, because they're not. Because we haven't been very good fully fit either, and we've had a lot of the same problems fully fit. They just look even worse because you've got less individual talent on the pitch. So big problems ahead, and I do think I do think it's no surprise whatsoever if you forward out from here and United finish 10th this season.
No, I mean, there's plenty of scenarios in which you could say that, I remember when Ollie came in, like, it was perfectly believable that at that time, a scenario that United finished in the bottom half of the table could have played out, right? As it happened, United got a big bump from Ollie before it all went south, and that wasn't true. But we have been in dreadful form, as we've said, for some time, and don't look like we're playing in a way that we're going to get out of that dreadful form, right? Where are the goals suddenly going to come from? Just where? We don't have a style of play that creates a lot of good chances, so it has to be from brilliant moments, and maybe that will kickstart some confidence if there are some brilliant moments. Anyway, go ahead.
Sorry, but that is just such a disgrace, and that my kind of hopes and dreams about Solskjaer. I'm very excited about Solskjaer, and I kind of have no regrets about that, really, even though it's turning out the way it's turning out. There was still a kind of, it was nice to hope and dream and be joyful. But one of the reasons that I like the idea of Solskjaer is because actually his teams have an identity. His team did play with, Mulder did have an identity, and he is a kind of bit of a Guardiolista in his way, old Ollie Solskjaer, in terms of his, not in terms of what's happening though. There's none of that's happening. He's kind of been just, I don't know, that something's like. Do you remember when Ryan Giggs was asked about what his management style would be, and he goes, "Well, I think I'd probably play with wingers back in the day, And there's something a bit like, well, Man United play on the counter, don't we? About Solskjaer's current tactics, and it's like, well, yes, in the late 1990s, it was very good to play on the counter. I mean, all right, in the late 2000s as well, to be fair, but there's none of the teams at the top of the game at the moment are like absorb pressure and slam counter. They're either aggressive pressing sides or they're possession sides, or a combination of both.
Yeah.
We're nothing, and the only way that meaningful change would happen is if there is a style of play that emerges where we start to create more chances, and there's absolutely no evidence of that. It's very depressing.
No, it's not going to happen with this group of players, and I guess Ollie would point to needing different or new players in order to do that. But I mean, we're a long way off, and he might not get there. No matter what Ed Woodward's saying, I think if the slump continues like this for any length of time, he's going to be in a really, really difficult position. So I watched the under-18s game at the weekend. I guess I didn't have anything better to do, but it's fun, and there's a lot of talented players in that group. Way too young to ship them into the first team. But United played Newcastle, and were 2-1 down at halftime. Scored 3 in about 3 minutes to get it back to 4-2, and then another one to make it 5-2 in the end. Now, like the under-23s are the same actually, in that they're the complete opposite of the first team at the moment. Like, really no defensive solidity, scoring goals for fun all over the place. And Ollie's got to find that somehow. He's got to, if that's bringing in younger players, starting Mason, swapping it around, changing up the tactics, which he hasn't done in months either. Some kind of other approach he has to, because we play Liverpool next at Old Trafford, and they just win everything all the time at the moment. And so there's not much of a guarantee we're going to get anything out of that game. Is there?
No, you're right, Ed. There is not much of a guarantee that we're going to get anything from probably the best. Well, I don't know if they're the best team in the league or not, but they might be the best team in Europe at the moment. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, it's it's Liverpool. Is there an international break? Is that why we've got a while?
Yeah. That's what's happening. There's
Partizan in the
more...
Europa League, which United are in a half decent position in the Europa League. That's away, so big old long trip. Norwich could go either way. They hammered City and then lost to Villa. Just we got Chelsea in the League Cup. And then an away trip to Bournemouth. So, they're games that once upon a time you'd have said, well, they're winnable for United, but they're everyone's a banana skin for United now.
Well, we haven't won away from home since March, and we've got 3 away games on the bounce after Liverpool. Like four away games on the bounce after Liverpool at home. Yeah. So we're not going to win a game for 5 games now. I mean, maybe we'll break the hoodoo in Belgrade. Do you really fancy United going away on a Thursday night to Belgrade and getting a result? Because I have to tell you, I do not.
You're not going to put money on that one? That's a good one. That kicks off at 5-6. Awesome.
Yeah, classic 5-6. I'll miss that one as well because of work. Norwich on the Sunday. I haven't currently got a reason I'm going to miss that game, so might end up watching that. It's very unfortunate. But these are all weeks away, and we'll talk about some of them. Did you put out the shout for Twitter question?
I did indeed.
All right. So does that? Let's talk to the people about how they all going to hate all the players I like and hate the manager who's a legend. Imagine how annoying it would be if you were like 17 and you got no emotional investment in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and there's all these old men going, can't say anything nasty about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Andrew Yaxley says, this one's for Ed. How does it feel to have gone from one of the truly ranty, pessimistic United fans to one of the more positive, optimistic United fans on Twitter? Name change for the pod incoming?
I've always felt the podcast was very poorly named, Andrew. Yeah, Ed, you've swapped to being, basically what's happened is you haven't moved and society's shifted out from underneath your footsteps, hasn't it?
That's it, yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes when I feel particularly negative, I just don't write anything. Because what's the point? I'm just going to be adding to the flood, and I've the positive things I've said recently, a few about Marcus Rashford, because I think there is talent in there, and he's a player who scores about 0.35, across his career, and he can do better than that. And I think there's very, very few players score 50 goals before they're 21, or by the time they're 21. Very few. His record in that is better than a whole host of really top name strikers. It is an art you have to learn. So there's plenty of reasons to think that he can go on to have a really great career with really great numbers. And my frustration there is you've got a player who's still a young player. He might have, and I think Jose has not helped here, because he's been 5 years in the team. He's really not. It's less than 4 years since he made his debut. He's made about 100 starts, just over 100 starts. That's really a couple of full seasons of really real experience, and so yeah, I did that a few times, which might be what Andrew's talking about.
He's played with an injury for 6 months, So anyway, yeah, the knee-jerk writing off of Marcus Rashford. I mean, I don't want to see his name on the team sheet at the moment, not because I think he's rubbish, because I think he needs a rest.
Ben Hudson says, how long until the leadership of the club takes over the day-to-day running of the women's team and they also become completely unlikable?
Yeah, they're doing really well, aren't they? They had those 2 kind of near misses, and then their results have gone well.
They beat Liverpool, which was great. I mean, I watched that game. I thought they played really, really well, deserved their victory. Late goals to make it 2-0, and I guess it was close up until then. But Casey Stoney's has got a team that's going to do all right. I think they will be comfortably mid-table in their first season back in the Premier League, and they play away at Spurs next weekend.
Yeah, so and to answer the question, oh my God, keep Woodward away from the women's team, whatever you do.
Maz says, so Fred, being awful is confirmed. Is the number or touches our 2 centre-backs have an indication of how terrible we are? I lost track of the backward passes. I wonder how we compare with other teams. I haven't looked at this one, actually. Didn't read that question very well, but do we play a lot of backwards passes? I'm not sure, and is Fred particularly guilty of that? He's certainly a crab as a player. I mean, he does try to play some positive passes, and it's the criticism that was made of Scott McTominay, of course, when he first came into the team. He makes a lots more positive passes than he once did. Lots more, and that's been to his eternal credit. I think the major problem with Fred is not necessarily him going backwards to the centre backs. But the fact that he just gives the ball away a huge amount.
Yeah, it's a big problem, and he's just. We can't say this on the podcast again, but I'm going to say, like, what does he do? Like, what we don't know what kind of. But anyway, and I mean, there's a mild argument to say give him 2 games at number 10 just in case, but not. But the problem with that is every time he's got the ball, he gives it away, so that's probably not good.
Greg Seward says, why has Ollie not changed the formation when it clearly doesn't work? I mean, I think he wants to create an identity, which is why he wants to play in this pattern. He wants to play with attacking fullbacks. He wants to play with 2 more holding and 3 supporting the main striker. And he wants to be able to play on the break with, in quick transitions. And United actually really aren't doing any of that at the moment because it's all a bit of a jumble. That's why he's not changed the formation. But you just got to wonder what is going to change. Is he just waiting for luck?
Yeah, and this formation business is a big problem because United don't have an attacking identity playing 4-2-3-1. Maybe he feels like it offers enough more defensive stability, but United's defensive stability isn't coming from their midfield. I guess I don't know. I guess McTominay does contribute to the defensive stability or whatever.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if he's naturally really a defensive midfielder. Really.
No, but I mean, what I'm sort of talking about is like structurally, does the two in the 4-2-3-1, is that part of why our defense has looked good? I don't think it seems. I'm not an expert in this, but it doesn't seem to me to be the predominant reason why. It would be more about actually just the back 4 being better.
Yeah,
that seems to be the thing. So you could go for it. You could play 4-3-3 without losing too much, but I don't know.
I mean, he's played Paul Pogba in that too quite a lot. So
yeah, exactly. But Pogba's excellent at doing that. Yeah. Anyway,
Chris Wood says there's a lot of black humour going on on Twitter land, which I prefer to the whining. Chris Wood says, who do we want for our first away game next season? Leeds, Blackburn or Preston?
Leeds will be up. We're going to flip-flop. Imagine how buzzing Leeds fans will be when we flip-flop with Leeds and they get in the Prem. Liverpool win the league. Leeds get promoted from the Championship.
City win the Champions League.
Yeah, Champions League. And we get relegated.
Oh, dear. Stop it. Here, question for you, Paul. Matt Peck says, okay. What is Phil Jones's best position? We haven't had that one for a while.
I always enjoy it. Just sat behind Woodward in the stands, mouthing stuff about the manager.
Yeah. Robbie Burney says, do we pay 150 million or 200 million for the Longstaff brothers in January?
Yeah. I mean, do they know we're still allowed to buy players from Europe? Do they think we're not allowed? Is that what they think's happened? That this is they're just getting ahead of the game?
Yeah,
it's going to be. Yeah. I guess it will be after October.
This is Ollie's version of the Norway option, isn't it?
I mean, like if this is the Norway option.
Gareth Ken says, "Is De Gea's interview the kiss of death for Solskjaer?" It's interesting actually because I hadn't seen that interview before you read it out earlier, but that is he doesn't mention Ollie. He's not outright critical of Ollie, But
he's basically saying we've got no idea what we're doing.
Yeah, it's pretty implicit, isn't it?
It's not a good look. And he's just signed a new contract, hasn't he?
So he feels secure, yeah.
Did I hear this on another podcast? That there was a clause previously in his contract where he was allowed to pick his own goalkeeper.
Yeah, I think, Castles was saying it, but I don't know, it might have been on a podcast as well. Yeah, he was allowed to pick in his old contract, his own coach, and as soon as he signed that new contract, his coach was fired.
Wow, wowee!
Interesting.
That's why he's so grumpy.
Yeah. Dan Campbell says, "Would relegation be such a bad thing?" Question mark. I mean, it was a sort of spark in the 70s, wasn't it, for United's revival? I mean, not quite, but sort of.
I mean, they lots of old Reds say that that's one of their favourite seasons ever, and we did win the FA Cup
The
immediately
only
afterwards.
value of doing that is if the Glazers sold up. I mean,
Yeah.
really, and then maybe they would sell up for a price that brought in some, a consortium or some other
benign dictatorship.
Yeah, some other kind of business person that is not like a Middle Eastern petro state with awful human rights records.
Yeah, or any petro state from around the world, because this is not a regional bias. Just to be clear, this is about the nature of human rights abuse. It's not where the people come from. I don't mind there being foreign owners of Man United. It's just I would like the owners of Man United.
I'd like them to not go around murdering people.
Yeah,
I mean it's a low bar, but yeah.
Ideally, there wouldn't be massive Trump donors. And
well, you
also,
know our current owner.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. And that's why I said that. And then the but to be honest, that wouldn't. They'd still make plenty of money out of owning United, like plenty of salary money out of owning United if we were relegated to the Championship. So, and anyway, I mean, listen, hey, who knows what's going to happen? But there's, I would say, almost no way we're going to be relegated to the Championship. Almost.
A couple of related questions. Jax365 says, "Are we in a relegation battle?" And Jamie O'Donoghue says, "Can you explain?" And he's posted a picture of the Premier League table from match week 30 in 2018-19. I guess that's when Ollie was appointed. Is that right, or is that post? Well, they're appointed full time. This must be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and United are third from bottom. Yeah, well, look at that.
Since then, yeah.
Brighton and Watford, stuck it to Brighton and Watford.
Maybe that might be the table, because I saw this a bunch of stuff doing around. There was the table since Brendan Rodgers took the Leicester job, because I believe Leicester are third in that table since Brendan Rodgers took over. So maybe we should have given Brendan Rodgers the job instead of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Well, I think it is almost inarguable that as things currently stand, we should have given Brendan Rodgers the job and not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
No. There's a whole bunch of office gags in here, but no, I just couldn't have it. But yes, he's probably a better manager.
Different managers for different needs. Is that what you're saying?
Lewis Pollock says, "Is it possible to press fast forward to January? We need some serious changes." Well, look, we're already starting on the transfer. Well, two things here. No, it's not. I'm afraid you're going to have to suffer through it like the rest of us. Stop trying to cop out. And two, sorry, that was one. Two, we're not going to be buying anyone in January. All right? On January the 31st, it will be, in fact, it's going to start about mid-December. We all know how difficult it is to buy anyone in January. No one wants to give up their best players, etc., and so on.
The thing is, also, I can't believe people haven't yet worked out that it does not matter what happens in transfer windows. United are just doomed. This is like, there's no thing that you can fast forward to, because, I mean, eventually this will not turn out to be the case, but all the way through Moyes, it was like, can we just fast forward to the bit where he gets sacked? Then Van Gaal was like, can we fast forward to the bit where it starts working? Oh, now can we fast forward to the bit where he gets sacked? Mourinho, can we try and get something out of him before he hits the point at which we then have to fast forward to the point at which he gets sacked? And now one of my favourite footballers in history and a man who I secretly believe to be a managerial genius has got the job, and we just want to fast forward it. What people actually mean is, can we fast forward it to us being good again?
Yeah,
You're going to miss 20 years of your life, because this is not happening anytime soon.
Funny you should say that. Matthew Edwards says, "How great will it be when Axel lifts the league title for the first time on his last ever game for the club, retiring at the age of 39.
To go and be the player manager of Middlesbrough. That's Axel Tuanzebe is the new Brian Robson.
It's going to be a long time before we're back. I mean, it would be a long time before we're back if we had a sound transfer strategy and were able to spend our vast amounts of cash sensibly. But we know that we're not. We can't. We've got 6 years of history to tell us that we can't.
I don't mind if we are flaky. I don't mind if we don't win stuff. Really, now we are 6 years into not being likely to win the league. I don't need us to be likely to win the league. All I want out of them is to look forward to watching them. That's it. It's literally that simple. And that doesn't mean that you're going to roll every team over that's below you in the league. It means that there's going to be patterns of play and some quality on show and in positive attacking intent and competence. And I don't mind if we're flaky or if we have bad games or if you bed in a load of youngsters and it doesn't work. I mind having no identity whatsoever, and that was what was happening under Mourinho, and it's what's happening again now, and that's very painful.
Stephen Linden says, how did Ed and the Glazers salvage their situation? They've backed themselves into a corner by appointing a United legend and will attract massive anger from some of the fans if they sack him. But equally as much if they don't and performances get worse. I mean, look, I think this is a fair point, right? I think with this appointment, Woodward was just like the cat that got the cream when it was all going great for Ollie last season. And he made that emotional decision to make the full-time appointment after Paris because he's like, this gives me time. I've I can get a cheaper manager. I don't have to spend 30 odd million on Poch. Who'd have some serious demands also in the transfer league. I can now enact this getting back to our core values, youth, and whatever narrative. And he bought in some time, but it's only time bought if Ollie is able to turn the situation round and actually start showing some progress with this team. That's otherwise he's just kicked the can down the road. And right at the moment, it looks like he's kicking a can full of down the road. Like he is in a serious situation too. And I guess the truth is that he is judged on how much money United make. And we had a very lengthy conversation about just where United are on financials a couple of weeks ago. And they've just posted record revenues. And so he's under no pressure from that point of view. Now, fast forward, since it's a popular sort of thing at the moment, fast forward 6 to 12 months, and it's not going to look so rosy because United definitely won't be in Champions League football next season, I don't think. That's going to take we're already 40 million hit-ish they're guiding this season. It'll be even more next season once some of the contracts that have bonus clauses associated to the Champions League kind of are enacted. All penalty clauses, such as the Adidas contract, but apparently more than that as well. So we might be guiding another 40 odd million off next season, right? And so then the revenue doesn't look so good at all, And United's commercials have been flat for a long time. The genius of Woodward, 4 years now, basically.
Yeah, you mentioned that last week.
Yeah. So the genius of Woodward has run out. Everyone else has copied the strategy United was slightly ahead on, not much, just slightly ahead on, and every given the collective contract in Europe and the collective contract for broadcast rights in the Premier League, we're floating at the same level as everyone else there. So, so it doesn't look that good in the medium term. Right now, he's not getting fired because the Glazers only care about how much they can extract from the club at the year end.
I think that he will be fired if there's another season. Like if things don't turn around, surely Woodward's not getting another summer in charge. Given that the Glazers are lots of things, but they can read financial tea leaves, can't they? So you'd think that they're going to.
But what's more expensive for them? Like the let's say worst possible case scenario on commercials, right? So we're going to get a renegotiated principal sponsor soon. And the Adidas contract, which has got another decade to run or something like that, and a few others, right, run out, right? And say we don't keep renewing them, which they were all crowing about on the financial call a couple of weeks ago, how well United are doing about renewing contracts. So let's say that worst case scenario. Let's say there's a 80 million hit on commercials. That really is stretching it, and a 40 million hit on broadcast. So we're down from peak revenue to in the mid 500s or something like that, right? So that is a big chunk off revenue. They can probably, by not spending loads in the transfer market, ensure that the club remains reasonably profitable. and they can take a dividend.
Right.
So
Right.
what's the big hit? The other thing that people point to is the share price. It doesn't matter, right? They own 90% of the voting shares, right? There's hardly any shares floating around and being traded. Hardly any. Most of them are stuck in BlackRock in super long term positions, and there's no pressure on them. There's no pressure on them at all to sell this club, and that share price only matters when they do sell. And when they do sell, right, that is a fictitious amount of money, right? It's like entrepreneurs who've got their first round of venture capital think they're billionaires, right? That money counts as for nothing until you sell, and they put not a penny of their own money into the club. It'll all be profit. So if they sell for 3 billion now, or 4 billion if the club goes great, or 2 billion if it doesn't, it's still a ton of money. Anyway, sorry, I'll stop ranting.
I just need to point out that there's a certain percentage of our listeners who were absolutely sure at one point during that you were going to say, it doesn't matter what your share price is. But then they would not have realised that you quoting The Rock is never going to happen. But anyway, right. So, United are rubbish and they're going to stay rubbish. Any more questions?
I'm bored of questions. Don't know about you. So there might be, but I'm done.
All right, we're done.
Have we got any? We haven't got any football to preview.
Yeah, we have, because we're not going to do a show before the Liverpool game, are we? We barely get a show out when there's actually football.
Well, we might do a show. Are we going to do a show next weekend?
No, I'm travelling around next weekend, which I haven't. This is an off-air conversation, but I've not yet told you that I'm going to do multiple podcasts next weekend, just not our own. I'm going on a little podcast.
I won't have time to do a podcast because I'm too busy whoring it around on the podcast circuit.
Yeah, I'm going to London. I'm going to go and record an episode of the Tifo podcast in the Tifo studios, which I'm really excited about. And then I'm going to go and be on the Jim Burns and Dave podcast. And then on the Sunday, I'm going to a live recording of the Tail Enders podcast, which I'm not going to be on. I'm just going to be in the crowd for that one. there's the dream. But yeah, so I'm not here next weekend because it's an international break. So I thought it'd be fine to go away and do to see other podcasts behind your back. But
I might go and see the United women's team.
Oh, are you? Where are they playing?
Well, they're Spurs. I think Spurs playing Barnet or something like that. So
right.
It's by the M1. I'll get there.
Okay. I'll talk to you about that. See if I can go. I might be able to. I'm not sure if I will be able to, but I could try. Anyway, all this is by way of saying I don't really know what to say about the Liverpool game.
We're going to get. Paul, that's what you need to say. We're going to get. We're going to get bent over and hard.
The thing that's going to happen is United are going to be absolutely... I have no doubt whatsoever that United are going to be bang up for it. No doubt whatsoever that we're going to see the maximum effort these players have to give. But I don't think there's a problem with effort. I don't think the problem is that the players don't care. I think the problem is that the players don't believe in themselves. And I think we're going to see maximum effort, and we might even see some half-decent football if some of our better players are back fit. I don't know what Wan-Bissaka's situation is, but if we're seeing a back four with Wan-Bissaka and Maguire and Tuanzebe, I guess he's first choice now. Although Lindelof got a new contract, didn't he?
Lindelof picked up a little injury as well.
Yeah. But yeah, he's that's clearly not the problem area, is it? But the real problem is they are really good defensively. They offer phenomenal threat down the flanks, which God, imagine offering threat down the flanks. What a dream that would be. I mean, they're not going to sit back and soak up loads of pressure, but the thing is, they're probably not going to have to. So I wouldn't be shocked if, when we were rubbish and they were good, we used to beat them all the time, right? It used to be a thing. And when we were good and they were rubbish, they used to beat us fairly often. So, who knows what's going to happen in this game, but pattern of play-wise, it looks like a disastrous matchup.
Yeah, it does, because we're going to have to be pretty smart with the ball at the back and pretty brave to play it out. Honestly, a lot. And turnover of possession could be a real killer for us. And those few chances we get to break, we're going to have to use it really, really smartly. So, Marcus, get yourself on the beach. Don't link up with England. Paul Pogba, get yourself fit because we're going to need those. And Martial, we're going to need him fit. We're going to need them all fit, and otherwise we could get annihilated, unfortunately. And predictions clearly 1-0 to United. Clearly.
Yeah.
Down the microphone for 6 times in a row.
2-1 United.
I 2-0 Liverpool. We're gonna get beaten.
All right. I'm going for a miraculous scrappy United win. Hey, listen, that's one of the possible future outcomes. It's 2 weeks away. Anything could happen between now and then. We could have Jurgen Klopp as our manager. Seems a tad unlikely as a train of events, but
might have Poch as our manager by then, given what's happening at Spurs at the moment.
They're in absolute catastrophe zones. They're in omnishambles territory. The whole thing's falling apart. There's all manner of rumours about what's going on behind the scenes there. Some of it very John Terry and Wayne Bridge. So
I hadn't heard that rumour. I've heard the players are despondent with Poch's attitude. He's broken-hearted about what happened. Thought he would have a chance at the United and/or Real Madrid, and/or other big job. Didn't get any of them, and is feeling pretty sorry for himself. I've heard that.
You'd think he'd cheer up looking at both Real Madrid and Man United and going, actually, I've probably still got a chance at both of these jobs in not that distant future.
Oh, no, he's definitely got a shot at the Real Madrid job. I mean, Zidane, Real Madrid aren't doing that bad, but Zidane does not get on with Perez. Anyway, what's the John Terry and
you can look that one up, Ed. We don't want to get slanderous on this.
I do, but I will look it up. And you good people do that too.
All right. Thank you very much for listening to another episode of our show. You can back us at patreon.com/rantcast if you really love the show and want a bit more of it every week. Although why you'd want more. But Patreon backers, do stay tuned for your bonus content, which won't be, we don't know exactly what it's going to be about, but I can tell you one thing it ain't going to be about, and that's Manchester flipping United.
All right.
Because I am sick to the back teeth of them. All right. So we love you all and see you next week.
Okay. Bye now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.